Right, thanks very much for a great session there from Navitaire. Back onto the low-cost theme, and this session is called From Longboats to Long Haul, Battling High Fares with a Viking Spirit. And here is my Viking guest, Bjorn Larsen, CEO and indeed founder of Norse Atlantic. Give him a warm round of applause.
Thank you.
Bjorn, if you'd like to take a seat, you look like you're about to sing a song, so I won't keep you standing there.
Yeah.
I was joking with you, the only Norwegian group I could think about was Aha, so I thought we could do a little take on me or something afterwards. Anyway, Bjorn, good to have you here.
Thank you.
And how old is Norse now?
How young?
Years or so?
Well, we're about 4 years, no, 3.5 since we came with the ID, 2 years since we started flying, 1 year since we were, I would say, in full operation, and half a year from being profitable. That's how old we are.
Okay. But yourself, your own background is marine, isn't it?
Oh yeah. So I made a few money in shipping, and now I'm spending them in aviation.
I was going to say, because I mean, shipping, I don't know about profit margins. I mean, you've obviously.
I started a shipping business in 1989, so it's like 100
still
years
there.
ago. Well, 95% of the owners in Norway that were in business in 1989 are bankrupt now. So it's a very volatile business, like aviation.
Like aviation.
Yeah.
And you've got an interest in piloting anyway. You pilot your own aircraft. You've had
which doesn't really qualify me to run an airline, quite frankly.
You're not flying 787s.
No,
Direct
you can rest assured. I'm not.
But
doing
we
that.
just met yesterday for the first time, and I was asking you then. I had got the misunderstanding that when Norse Atlantic was born, as we went through COVID, and Norwegian was going through a lot of restructuring, they had gone into long haul low cost, and I thought this was like a new venture linked to Norwegian, but you were making it clear to me it was not. This was something you'd had an interest in, and the opportunity came at that moment.
Yeah, we're not linked to Norwegian or KLM or United Airlines. We're a standalone airline.
But the opportunity came equally, one COVID, but because Norwegian ended up exiting long-haul low-cost, I think the fleet then, and possibly now, is actual aircraft they use, but the big difference is you managed to get way, way lower lease rates on those planes. Is that right?
I'm not going to speak about other airlines here. I stick
No,
to
but the lease rates, I mean, you've said publicly, haven't you?
Well,
that
we have the best, I think we have the best lease rates in the industry. It's
Yeah.
not really a secret,
Yeah,
but of
exactly,
course,
that's what I mean.
Of course, it's an important part of managing your cost in any business. And aviation is a very capital-intensive business. So having the right cost of capital is important, but you still have to get the business right.
Exactly.
The low, capital cost or lease rates will only get you this far.
Yeah.
It is important, but it's only a part of the recipe.
But I think it's a very important part in that I know yesterday we were talking about another low-cost airline, Ryanair, and I think an advantage they've long had, they had times like, for example, 9/11, they were able to go and acquire very modern Boeing fleet at a much lower rates, always set them aside from other airlines. You took your moment well and got something nobody else could get at that time.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes there are opportunities, and you, like in shipping, you have to wait for those opportunities when it comes to acquiring assets or making deals, and you should typically do it. And this is not our invention, but you should go and do deals when nobody else wants to. Then you get the best deals, and then obviously you'll have to know roughly what to do with the assets that you acquire.
Exactly.
So I think we did a great deal. I think we hit the timing perfectly. Then I think we have stumbled a couple of times as we were building a business, and we have now, I think, finally been able to get a right type of business model that is set for our type of airline.
Okay, well, let's go through a bit of that in a bit more detail. You set it up, and the title, your name, Norse Atlantic. When I first saw it, I was looking. This is like just say copy-paste. I don't want to say that in any way insultingly. I mean, it was literally you're going to do a similar thing to Norwegian, but with that lower cost base, doing transatlantic out of Scandinavia, Gatwick, and you have evolved it, as you said. You've changed it quite a lot in recent years.
I think we, I mean, comparing with airlines is one thing, but we look much more like, if you compare Virgin, they are flying long haul only. They are used to starting Gatwick, etc. So, of course, we don't have the upper class, but we have a fantastic, great value for money product for our customers. And you're totally right. Gatwick is an important airport for us, but the most important airport for us is JFK. So we are more than anything else in American Airlines, flying to and from America with JFK, our biggest hub, particularly in summer.
Okay. JFK
and Norway is like 5% to 3% to our business.
How many airports around Europe are you flying to JFK or to the US from now?
Well, from JFK, as an example, we fly double daily in summer to London. We fly to not Amsterdam, sorry. We fly to Paris. We fly to Rome. We fly to Athens. We fly to Berlin, a little bit to Oslo, and that is from JFK alone. We fly to a number of places from Los Angeles. We fly from Miami.
I'll tell you what I'm thinking the other way. But where are the aircraft based? There is a base. Aircraft are based at Gatwick, based in Oslo.
No, they're not based in Oslo.
They're not based in Oslo.
No, they're not based in Oslo. So the aircraft is flying between places. All right. The crew is based in America, in UK, in Paris, and a few in Oslo.
Okay. And the total fleet now is, what, about 15, but going to descend a bit this winter?
Yeah, it's we have 15 aircraft.
You have 787-9, 787-8, but the 3-8s, I think, you're either sold off or the leases are ending. You're not going to
That's
continue.
correct, yeah.
Which I guess has got to be better because it's a smaller plane on paper, that's less seats to fill, but the seat cost proportionately higher.
I mean, we need to keep the cost low, and you do that partly by having a uniform fleet that you can interchange aircraft as suited, rather than trying to make different setups for different type of aircraft. So for us, it makes sense to have one type of aircraft in the fleet. So we have now 12 identical sisters.
And do you call yourself long haul low cost, or do you give yourself a different title?
We call ourselves Norse Atlantic.
So do you call yourself long haul low cost?
I mean, we have a great product. It is a low cost for customers, but because we have a low cost base, and we want to share that, and that is the business model that really simplifies everything. We are not hub and spoke. We are not everything for everybody, but we are a great value airline for those who want to go non-stop between two big cities or catchment areas that want to experience either a great premium product or a great economy product. And we have a very simple model that allows us to have a bit lower cost. That's what we are.
But that model revolving, as you say, around good value pricing. I mean, good value pricing doesn't necessarily replicate to good profitability, as you were saying. You're coming.
No, we are subsidizing our customers right now.
And part of that is price levels, because if you pitch at a low level in a market that on the one hand can be really buoyant, I mean, the transatlantic can be a gold mine in summer and a graveyard in winter, to put it in a polarized and simplistic way. But you're up against these big guys, big network groups who've got loyalty programs, who've got ultra high frequencies and so on, and you've got choice of wallet in terms of flying to other places. So is there more than price to drive the airline towards profitability?
I mean, we will be profitable next year, I'm pretty sure. We are having a right blend of own network and charters. We are getting known in the markets we are working. I don't think we are taking market share from anybody. I think we stimulate the market. We appeal to a wider group of travelers. So I think us being there is actually good news for tourism industry. It's good news for airports. We're creating a lot of jobs. It's good news for a lot of customers, and it's not bad news for the competitors either, in my opinion.
I mean, it's good news as long as you stay there, Bjorn, as long as you survive as an airline and you provide those services. The winter is tough. You're looking to come to profitability. As you have indicated, you started to diversify, because one thing that seems to me that can never change for whatever kind of airline is this unfortunate seasonality profile. So you have this massive peak in the summer, and your name, Norse Atlantic, but you have diversified geographically away from the Atlantic in part, and to a charter segment.
Don't put too much in the name. I mean, I'm not sort of guessing what Virgin have got their names from, but I'm just saying that we picked a cool name. We think it's identify a little bit of our background, but it doesn't really tell you anything about our business model.
But that business model, as you said, it is changing. It was probably originally, if you're honest, you did expect to fly a North Atlantic market year-round. You've seen the challenges there. You're now flying to both other markets under your own name, but I think from what I've read in your recent statements, also leasing out aircraft completely. I mean, you've been to the Antarctic at least as a one-off. You're flying to other parts of the world and looking for other maybe airlines who might take your capacity. Is that possibly a bigger part of your way forward?
Well, we fly transatlantic year-round, so that's number one. But we don't do it in the same scale in winter as in summer, and not entirely the same destination. So summer we fly London to LA, winter we fly London, Las Vegas, as an example.
Yeah.
But it's both across the Atlantic. We're flying to Florida more in winter, people like sun. We're flying then obviously also a bit more to other places like Cape Town. It's new this year, it's going to be a great route. Same goes to Bangkok in the winter. But the Atlantic is really home for us. So if we were to pick like one home market, it would be America, flying Americans to Europe. That's sort of the biggest piece of business we have.
And you mentioned the strength in JFK, but again, the US, I suppose it's a double-edged sword. You could have a bigger position as a company, but to get known in the States, you've just got such force. Yesterday we had David Neeleman, who's set up a number of successful low-cost airlines over the years, talking about large low-cost carriers in the States currently having a hard time, even Southwest, which is maybe the granddaddy of the low-cost model, because of a willingness to fight back by these big groups. So are you going to have to work ultra hard to get known and established and indeed survive against that kind of onslaught?
I don't think it's going to be our brand that carries us in the US. US is much too big market for us to realistically establish a brand that people would love us over, the American carriers, for example. So for us, it really have a great proposition. We have 2 million passengers a year. That's 2 million ambassadors if we treat them well. They might return. They might tell somebody else. They might bring somebody else. And it's getting the word of mouth strategy is way more important for us than going out and getting a household name. Having said that, I think good prices kind of have their own attraction and again creates a certain brand, and New York is our biggest catchment area, and New Yorkers have been able to discover our airline, and we are close to 90% sold out. So
I mean, you mentioned having a premium segment, and I'll be honest with you, I'm not close enough to the detail of what that means, if it's a bigger seat or a separate cabin, because the important thing for you is getting a higher margin on premium seats protects you in those colder, more difficult months, because if your fuel price goes up and down, if you're selling on the cheapest prices only, you're much more exposed to those cost inroads.
Well, not really. Not really, because I mean, there are a limited number of people who pay stupid money to go across the Atlantic after all.
What do you mean by stupid money?
I think if you pay $8,000 to go on a round trip London New York, that's stupid. I mean, sorry to say. I know how to spend a dollar wisely, and that is anybody who work for me who do that, they'll be fired on the spot. Yeah. It's absolutely stupid. So. One of the legs is a day trip anyway. You don't need a bed. And then, would you take a hotel room for $8,000 because you were going to sleep for 4 hours? You wouldn't. So, there might be a very small number of people who would do that. But what we are doing is really offering a great product, a premium product. I'm sleeping like a baby there, and I find it hard to sleep anywhere. But I'm sleeping like a baby. Great seats, a lot of space, great service. It's not premium economy. It's really a misleading name because we have to pay the business class tax at certain airports in Paris or in London, for example, because the seats are so good and you have so much space. So we probably should come up with a better name. Any ideas?
I'll think about that one.
Yeah, okay, thanks.
In terms of compare and contrast, we've had two other long-haul, low-cost model airlines in recent years. One in Iceland called WOW that flew high and then failed kind of quite rapidly because it diversified its fleet and network. We've currently got Play in Iceland, who long-haul, low-cost to an extent, but it's an intermediate model because you've got to go via Reykjavik.
Can you do long-haul on a 320?
Relatively not as far as you can, not like a London, LA, but they sell that intermediate product. They are also, like you, finding it taking longer to get to profitability, but it's a different model. They've got less aircraft, smaller planes.
A lot of legacy carriers took like 50 or 60 years to get to profitability. So it's.
But that's a challenge. I mean, we don't.
No, but well, if you base your business model on what somebody else is doing, it's more likely that you will fail than not, because you'll never be as good as the original. So you have to find your own recipe. I'm not saying that low-cost long-haul works. I'm not saying that short-haul low-cost works. If you try to replicate Ryanair, I think you're going to have a pretty hard time. But you have to find a niche that works for you, where you have more revenue than cost. Then it works.
Exactly.
And for us, it's a combination of picking the right routes. We're not flying, to and from Norway very much. We fly between London and New York, which are bigger markets, but still very competitive. So you need to control your cost. And secondly, we do a lot of charter activity. where we cater for other airlines, cruise companies, tour operators, and like polar researchers that want to go to Antarctica. And you have to have the right blend of revenue, and that's what we are aiming at.
I mean, I can understand, just talking to you now, I mean, you said you know how to spend a dollar wisely, you spent a lot of years building up your shipping business, you joked, you know, you made a bit of money in shipping spending it, but are you personally prepared to stick with it? You've had a number of fundraising rounds, you've got another winter coming up, you say you're confident to get to profitability in 6 months. For you, this is not a short-term experiment and you think, well, I've tried it now, I'm not going to carry on.
I mean, compared to a spaceship, okay? You're going to take off and you're going to go to space and you fire off that rocket and you burn a lot of cash initially and you hardly move. You've seen those, you know, shaking in Cape Canaveral. And then after a few seconds you see it starts moving and ultimately you gain speed. You don't want to discontinue it when you are just in the transition phase, when you actually have burnt a lot of cash and then you are getting into speed. That would be the wrong time. If we were to stop it, we've done it a long time ago. So when we are now seeing, we have spent a lot of money on it, and probably a bit more than we thought we would. But on the other side, I think this winter, for example, looks better than I thought it would. So I'm kind of regretting not putting more aircraft out for sale this winter as it looks now, because this winter is way better than last winter. So we're aiming up there somewhere, not in terms of size, but in terms of staying there for the long term, and that's what we're here for. I'd rather be a small airline for a long period of time than a big airline for a short period of time.
Good philosophy, Bjorn. Well, for now, we'll end the conversation. You can take your ease for a few moments. Stay here, though. We're going to keep you on the panel. So Bjorn Larsen, Norse Atlantic, thanks very much.
Thank you.